Wonderful. Good evening, everyone, and welcome all, public, council colleagues. I am calling to order this regular scheduled meeting of Monday, September 28th to order. Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Present.
Councilman Clark.
Present.
Councilman Gale. Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yeah, Councilman Gale, go ahead. Here.
Councilman Mitchum.
Here.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Present.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Here.
Councilman Sanchez.
Present.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
I'm present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Now, our town clerk will lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Some interesting news that we all want to share with our viewers, and I hope that our town clerk can enlighten us regarding the grant that his office just received. Mr. Clerk.
Yes, we received a grant of $346,000 and a little change of $300 something to help us with the upcoming election, and actually goes back to June 15th of this year to incorporate safe and safe polling, safe election, education, and a lot of other things, hopefully technology. We want to upgrade our system, which through the register of voters. So this money will be spread around to enhance our ability to conduct safe elections going from here forward. The grant was through the Center for I don't have it in front of me. Oh, I do have it in front of me.
And those are through Facebook, correct?
Yes, it was Facebook. Yeah, originally we thought maybe we get, anywhere from 10 to 40,000. And Eric Lucer worked very hard going over the whole budget, and to our surprise, that amount was awarded us. But we have to spend it. If we don't spend it, we have to give it back.
So I want to give a round of applause to Eric Lucer for doing that due diligence through Facebook and getting the city of Hartford $350,000+. Great job.
Yes, that was a tremendous get on our behalf, and for the voters will go a long way. And a lot of it is can be used, and we really want to reach out to the communities for voter education, so that we can make sure that it's done in multiple languages, not just English and Spanish, but whatever languages we can. And we have the resources that will be coming in, and we have to utilize those funds by December 31st.
Correct. And I also believe that we have only 2 more days left to register for the census. So if you have not.
Now, the census was given another month extension.
Oh, beautiful.
So,
wonderful.
yes.
So the deadline is what, October 30th, which was the original date?
Exactly, right.
Wonderful. Thank you for that clarification.
So we have only another more month to go.
It's very important that you do register for the census so that we could be counted. You were saying, Mr. Clerk?
The sheet has arrived.
Wonderful. Thank you. So, Mr. Majority Leader, when you're ready, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we place on that we suspend the rules to add item number 17 to our agenda, which is the grant from Facebook on the amount of $350,000 for the town and city clerk's office.
Second.
That motion has been made and properly second. Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez. Councilwoman Bermudez.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. For you, I'd like to make the motion that we place on the consent calendar the following items. Item number 4, Mayor Ronan with accompanying resolution authorizing the transfer of $5 million from benefits and insurance to any other general fund departmental appropriations with projected available unencumbered fiscal year 2020 appropriation balances to a special revenue fund, civilian crisis response team. Item number 8, a committee report of the Operations Management, Budget, and Government Accountability Committee with accompanying resolution authorizing the mayor to make transfers in fiscal year 2020 general fund budget. Item number 10, which is Operations Management, Budget, and Government Accountability Committee with accompanying resolution with authorizing the transfer to the suspense book of $1.4 million, $1,412,722.52 in outstanding personal property and motor vehicle taxes for tax bills that the tax collector has certified as unlikely to be collected. Item number 11, the Public Works, Parks, Recreation, and Environment Committee with accompanying resolution, communication from Mayor Bronin with accompanying resolution confirming the appointment of Franklin Perry II as a regular member to the Golf Oversight Commission. Item number 15, a resolution that the membership of the Labor, Education, Workforce, Youth Development, Youth Committee shall be amended to add Councilwoman Marilyn Rossetti to the said committee. Item number 16, a resolution that has during the charter review process next year, the following modifications to our city charter will be implemented by Charter Revision Commission in order to ensure gender parity for all mayoral appointments. And item number 17, which is a acceptance of a grant from Facebook for the amount of $350,000 to the town and city clerk's office.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. A motion has been made. Second, are there any discussions? Any discussions? Councilwoman Rossetti? Oh. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we refer the following items. Item number 1 to the Operations Management, Budget, and Government Accountability, which is Mayor Bronin with the company resolution transferring $55,981 from sundry non-operating department expenditures in fiscal year 2021 to the Court of Common Council office. Item number 3 to the Operations Management, Budget, and Government Accountability, Mayor Bronin with accompanying resolution authorizing the City of Hartford to enter into a 15-year tax abatement agreement with Overlook Village Associates 3 LLC for rental housing units to be developed at 421 Granby Street, Hartford, Connecticut. Item number 2 to the Health and Human Services Committee, which is Mayor Bronin with accompanying resolution authorizing the city to accept a grant of $60,000 in funding for the City of Hartford Department of Health and Human Services Heart and Home Help Program, HHP, from the North Central Area Agency on Aging, NCAA. Item number 5 to the Health and Human Services Committee, Mayor Bronin with the company resolution authorizing the city to accept a grant of $31,500 and Title III-D funding for the City of Hartford Department of Health and Human Services Keep On Living Program, the North Central Area Agency on Aging, NCAAA. Item number 6, to the Health and Human Services Committee, Mayor Bronin with the company resolution authorizing the city to accept a $65,000 grant and funding for the City of Hartford Department of Health and Human Services Dollar Ride Program from the North Central Area Agency on Aging, NCAAA. Item number 7, to the Quality Life and Public Safety Committee, Mayor Bronin with the company resolution confirming the appointments of Shante Brody, a member of the Board of Education, and Gary Pisano, a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, to the Police Accountability Review Board, PARB. Item number 13, to the Quality Life and Public Safety Committee, which is ordinance amending Article 5, Division 5, Section 2-196 of the Hartford Municipal Code. And item number, I'm sorry, and that concludes the referrals.
I second the motion.
A motion has been made and properly seconded. Are there any discussions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we postpone the following items. Item number 9, Operations Management Budget and Government Accountability Committee with accompanying resolution suggesting that any proposed ordinance submitted to the town clerk's office by a member of the Court of Common Council or by the mayor includes a brief 2 to 3 sentence statement on what the ordinance seeks to do, to have a frequently asked questions document attached to it, following the public hearing based on the questions asked. And item number 12, an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Appointments of Department Head Requirements, Section 850, Residency Requirements of the Municipal Code.
Second.
Mr. Majority Leader, I believe item number 14 has to be added to that too?
Yes, I was about to get to that. And item number 14, substitute ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 18, Section 2-860, Motor Vehicle Policy of the Hartford Municipal Code.
Second.
Where are those being sent?
These are the postponed items.
Okay.
Councilman Mitchum.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a point of clarification on that last one, the amendment to the motor vehicle policy. When that was before OMBGA last week, that committee said that the committee would postpone that ordinance and take it up again at the committee's next hearing, and that the committee at that time also wanted to hear from the mayor or representative of the mayor about the process of putting GPS devices in these cars. So is this postponement here going to get it back to OMBGA? Shouldn't we be referring it to OMBGA again?
No, I believe, and for clarification purposes, it's still there because it's an ordinance. It does come up and on the agenda like this.
But it will go back to them at their next meeting. Okay.
It's still there, okay?
Thank you. Just wanted to make that clear.
Okay. So we have a motion that's been made and properly second. Councilman Gale?
Yeah, thanks, Madam President. And not really related to this motion, but since we have Corporation Counsel here and since we referred CPRB back to public safety, I'm just wondering what the process is for getting a change. If we have an amendment to the proposed CPRB ordinance, how we get that amendment back to a public hearing. I don't know if that question was clear.
Councilman Gale, I understand the question, though. I didn't think that item had been referred back to committee. I thought that item is still up for potential action.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, and so with that, my recommendation is that you take that item up for action before a vote. There would be a proponent for an amendment. That amendment would be, or, if people have it in writing, reviewed, and questions would be asked, any discussion could follow. And at that point, because my understanding is that the amendment is substantial, it would be referred back to public hearing so that action would come up on that amendment at a future meeting of City Council.
Thank you.
Councilman Bigstrom.
Thank you. I think I was making sure I understand what just happened in terms of Councilman Gale's question. The CPRB amendment, proposal and amendments are up for action, not referral. Am I understanding that right? And the action is going to be to send it to a committee of the whole. I know we're going to get to this, but since he brought it up, I'll ask because I just don't understand.
So for clarification purposes, I'd like to finish this motion, and that is the last item on the agenda. We can go back to that.
Fair,
so the motion has been made and properly second. Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, there are no more items on the agenda. However, item 13, as we just previously discussed, was already referred to the Quality Life and Public Safety Committee without going through the changes. So my question to the Corporation Council is that do we have to do a motion of reconsideration for item 13?
Yes.
So through you, Madam President, I would like to make a motion that we consider item 13, which is an ordinance amending chapter Article 5, Division 5, Section 2-196 of the Hartford Municipal Code that was originally referred to the Quality Life Public Safety Committee for us to take action on the item.
The chair will entertain a second on that motion.
Second.
Thank you. Motion has been made and properly second. Councilman Mixton.
Okay, now I'll ask the question I was asking before. This is up for action. If we vote yes, it's an amended thing. It has to go to the committee of the whole, right? We can't just approve it as is and it becomes law. We're not there yet.
No, for every ordinance, if you have a substantial change, it has to go through its course again of going through committee and going through a public hearing.
So by voting yes, we're just
Correct.
making that happen.
Correct.
So just for clarification purposes through you, Council President, if I may, you don't want to vote yes to the proposal that's currently before council. What'll happen is that somebody should proffer an amendment and then you are voting on the amendment. If the amendment is accepted by the group, then that amendment gets sent back through the process, public hearing, and it goes from there. So you would, if the amendment is accepted, you're not voting to accept the change that was originally proposed by the mayor to the CPRB. You're voting to accept the amendment, and then you have to go back through the process again because it is a substantial amendment, and you would vote on that amendment at a future meeting.
So through you, Council President. So if we were to vote yes, and this is for our Corporation Counsel's office, if we were to vote yes on this amendment that is in front of us right now, then it would be referred to the committee of the whole meeting. And at that meeting, we could only discuss the items that have been amended, and we can't introduce new amendments that are not reflected in this document. unless if it goes through the process again.
Correct. If you have amendments other than what is going to be proposed tonight, they have to be voted on by the entire council before it would go through the public hearing process.
Councilman Mixtum.
Thank you, Madam President. Then, in light of that, which I didn't fully understand before, I am going to ask my colleagues to vote no on this not because necessarily what's in what we're looking at is bad, but because we got it, I don't know, around about 1 this afternoon. It's a voluminous document, which I know Councilwoman Bermudez and I proposed significant amendments. I tried to look over it when I got home from work, but I had the baby, and so, it's hard to know what all is there, and it's not very much time for a very big and important law. And it would be good, if nothing else, to postpone so that we can all read it, so that Councilwoman Bermudez and I can even know how many of our changes have been incorporated, our proposed changes, because otherwise, although it seems like what we're doing is delaying it, if we don't get to do that, and if we don't know what we're voting on, I think we run the risk of dragging it out more in the long run.
And if I may, Council President, I just want to clarify my answer from earlier to say that obviously if there's any amendment proposed in the future that is not substantial, it doesn't need to go to public hearing again. So if, for the most part, everything is there in the document that's before you, and you have something minor that's not substantial that needs to be amended, it wouldn't need to go back to the public hearing process. But I just wanted to clarify that in case that helps at all.
Thank you, Attorney Lombardi. Councilwoman Bermudez.
Thank you. Through you, Council President, and the rest of the council members, I want to echo Councilman Josh Mixtum's sentiment in that we received the final draft version of what we're going to be voting on, this amendment, today in the afternoon. I tried my best to look at what was missing. Everybody on council was asked to submit what changes they'd like to see, and for all the changes to be reflected in a live document, a live Google Word document. And then after that, this draft amendment was sent out to council. And I personally, after looking at some of it, I'm seeing that some of our recommendations aren't even included. And so I'm seeing things like, for instance, one of our original proposals having at least 1 or 2 nominees between the ages of 18 to 26 be in there, be CPRB members. I'm not seeing what we put in there in terms of having the mayor make public rubric process utilized to select the nominee. I'm not seeing in there, for instance, having Hartford Police Department policies be made available online to the CPRB and be made public. I'm not seeing in there including excessive use of force of data on there, which, by the way, is already being done in other municipalities. I'm not seeing in there, for instance, community-based agencies to be listed on the city website so that people know where they can go to file complaints, in addition to the already existing places that they can do it. I'm not seeing in there audits by Inspector General, and so on and so forth. I'm going to pause there because I'm not seeing a lot of the changes that we had originally made to this document as Working Families Party members. And so I can't vote for an amendment that will now be sent over to the Committee of the Whole that it does not include a significant chunk of the initial proposals that we included. I understand, for instance, if we were to send over everyone's proposals, everyone's amendments, and send over to the Committee of the Whole, and then at the Committee of the Whole meeting, striking certain amendments that we just are not at a compromise with. I totally get that process. But to early on say that we are going to strike out what some of these proposals are, what some of these requests are, knowing that some of these requests came specifically from community organizations and also our constituents, I think does a lot of harm when we're talking about a public, transparent process.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bermudez. Councilman Gale.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. So through you to Corporation Counsel, I just want to make sure I understand how the process could work if we voted it this way. First of all, we have to vote yes on the motion to reconsider. And then secondly, we could introduce an amendment, and I would be happy to introduce the amendment. And at the same time that I introduce the amendment, ask that it be referred, I don't know about committee of the whole, I mean, I'd be happy to refer it to public safety, but yeah. So what I would like to do, Corporation Counsel, is after the motion for reconsideration is voted on, I'd like to introduce an amendment to the CPRB along with a proposal that it immediately be referred to the Public Safety Committee. Is that something that can be done?
Through you, Council President, to answer Councilman Gale's question, per the charter, if an amendment is accepted at a meeting to propose change to an ordinance, then it shall be republished and assigned for public hearing as provided in the case of a newly introduced ordinance, and then goes on for passage at least 2 weeks later. So per the charter, that would be the process. If an amendment is accepted at this meeting, it would be republished and assigned for public hearing.
Well, you didn't quite answer the second part.
Which is if you can refer it to another committee as well.
Correct.
I don't see a prohibition in the charter to assigning it to any committee as well. I suppose as long as it's still getting republished and it's still being set down for public hearing.
Well, and what I want to make sure of is that when it comes back up on this agenda after a public hearing, it is not law until it comes back out of committee.
I'm sorry, I don't understand that question, Councilman Gale.
Well, you're sort of implying that if we vote for the amendment tonight, it then gets published and there's a public hearing on it, but I just want to make sure to satisfy all council members that we still have to vote for it again.
Of course. Yes.
Okay.
I'm
Well, I
sorry.
think that's the concern that council members are having. I just want to make sure that they all understand that it has to come back to council from committee where all kinds of amendments can be proposed again.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yes. Councilman LeBron?
Yes, I just, for clarification for the community, with the CPRB process, it's like Councilman Mixon said, it's such an important thing. So in terms of, we've used the word substantial on a few occasions at this point. Can Corporation Counsel, weigh in as to what is deemed substantial and how much objectivity or subjectivity is involved in the word substantial?
Sure. So Councilman LeBron, it's not defined anywhere. Essentially, if it's, a major change rather than, a change to some minor wording in the ordinance or something that's there for clarification purposes. The intent was always there, but you need to add some additional words or make changes so that the intent is clearer. The Corporation Counsel's office is often asked to weigh in legally as to whether an amendment is substantial and requires it to go back to public hearing. We take those inquiries on a case-by-case basis. But, when we have the amendment that I believe is going to be proposed tonight, it has a number of facets to it that substantially change the process due to input from a number of parties. And so, obviously that needs to go back to public hearing.
So just to piggyback on that question. So in terms of processes, and these are for the community members, and I understand the amount of input that Corporation Counsel has. In lieu of everything, at the final spot, Corporation Counsel can council would ask, or the mayor would ask Corporation Counsel, and you guys would weigh in as to the substantiality of any changes, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
We certainly can. Yeah, if the question's posed to us, we can give you our legal opinion as to whether an amendment is substantial and requires it to go to public hearing again.
Now, can council or the mayor deem it any changes substantial?
They can certainly, you all can certainly schedule another public hearing if you want something to be heard again.
Okay.
I think ultimately, you know, it's a legal question because it's an interpretation of the charter, whether something is substantial or not.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Through you, Council President. So, for example, based on Councilman Lebron's question, there's a section in here that currently it lists 12 different items for which citizen complaints can be filed and then sent to the CPRB so that they can investigate. And then right below that list of questions, according to this particular amendment, it says in that paragraph, allegations in a complaint of slow or poor service, discourteous attitude, or use of profane language shall be investigated by the police internal affairs. I'm going to stop right there. It says it shall be investigated by the police internal affairs. If we were at the committee of the whole meeting and we were to change that particular department, police internal affairs, and instead we were to replace it with the office of equity and opportunity, would that corporation counsel's office be deemed as a significant change?
I would want to look at it, Councilman Bermudez, because what I've seen sometimes too is when the council is talking about an amendment, they describe an amendment one way and it was accidentally written another way. So we get all sorts of questions like that, you know, kind of depends on what has already been, what was discussed at the public hearing.
Yeah, so for clarification purposes on the mayor's and the existing ordinance, that would have gone to the Office of Human Relations. In the mayor's proposed ordinance, it would have gone to the Office of Equity and Opportunity. And in the rest of the council members' amendments, instead of it now going to a different department, it's going to go back to the police department. So would that be a substantial change?
It may be, Councilman Bermudez. Sorry, I'm trying to bring this up, and I'm not sure I even have the document.
Yeah,
that you're looking at.
Yeah, that's part of the problem, that we received this in the afternoon. We haven't had a chance to thoroughly look at it. I spent some time right before this meeting trying to figure out what was changed, what was missing, and you know, to echo the sentiments of Councilman Mictum, we said as a council body that we weren't going to steamroll this through, and yet here we are tonight with very significant amendments. And if we say yes to referring this to the committee of the whole, we can't bring up new amendments. We have to vote on the amendments that are before us. And if we were to change these specific items on here, it can't alter the ordinance that we are now would be approving as amended.
Road police doesn't really listen.
Councilman LeBron?
Yeah, so that's not, through you, Madam President, that's not what I heard. I think Corporation Counsel indicated that we're going to be sending it back to public safety. And I understand Councilwoman Bermudez's passion here, and I wholeheartedly agree. But I don't think there was any distinction that said that we wouldn't be able to change. We're the council body. So as it goes back to public safety, that's exactly why it's going back, to address the concerns and the amendments and also provide new ones. So there is still the opportunity to create changes. So that's what I heard, at least. So it's not as if, you know, the cutoff point, like we've hit the cutoff point. My understanding is that we can be able to dissect the document a bit further. So I understand your passion and your wanting this to have things still on the table. And I think by bringing it back to public safety, it allows us to do that.
Call the question.
Do I have a second?
Second. Second.
I had my hand up before he said call the question. I think I should get to say something.
Question has been called and properly second.
I really don't like this democracy, huh?
He did have his
Could you
hand
please
up.
call the roll?
Council President, he did have his hand up.
And so did Councilman Clark when he called the question.
Or Councilman Clark.
Mr. Clerk, please call the question. Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez.
No.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum.
Hell no.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader. You had the floor. So we had a prior motion on the floor.
Motion to reconsider, yes.
That was properly second to put an amendment on the floor. Is that correct, Mr. Clerk, for clarification process?
Is reconsideration number 13.
Council President, I've just been informed that the channel 96 is not airing anymore.
Let me just verify that because I have the TV in front of me and I'm able to see, but I know we have a delay.
Yes, that was brought to me as well, and we verified and checked, and it seemed everything was go. So that's why I didn't bring it to your attention, Council President.
I'm sorry, are you saying that we're on?
Yeah, we're on.
Yeah, we're on live. So as I stated, there has been a motion made and properly second to put an amendment on the floor, which is the amendment on item number 13.
I thought this was the reconsideration. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to know what we're voting on now. I thought that what we were up to was the reconsideration.
Reconsideration.
Correct.
And so after we reconsider, then we get to the amendment?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll? And for transparency reasons, I know this has been very confusing going back and forth so that the public is aware of what we're doing exactly. Could you please read the motion that's on the floor at this moment? And Corporation Counsel could help you if there's a little bit of a confusion as to how to read that motion.
There was a motion by Councilman Clark, second by Councilman Sanchez, to reconsider item number 13, which was referred to the Quality Life and Public Safety Committee.
That is correct. Could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Pass.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum.
Yes.
Councilman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. So for clarification purposes, Attorney Lombardi, so now the motion had the resolution, the ordinance has been sent over to public safety. Do we still have to do the amendment on the floor? Councilman Gale must read that amendment, correct?
Yes.
Sorry, I had trouble with mute, Council President. So the reconsideration was to pull referral back from the Public Safety Committee and put this for action on the floor this evening. So right now we have for action item number 13 on the CPRB ordinance changes. I believe, Council President, you'd call for discussion, and at some point someone would proffer an amendment if that's the way they want to go.
Okay, so we would need a, Councilman Clark, a motion for that amendment. Councilman Gale, you had a question?
No, I was going to make the motion, but
Councilman Clark, please make the motion.
I yield my time to Councilman Gale for the motion.
So just to be clear, someone's going to make a motion to move item number 13 for action. Council President's going to call for discussion, and then at that point, Councilman Gale can offer his amendment.
oh,
So that's why I wanted to have Councilman Clark make the motion to put this item on action.
fine.
Through you, Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to replace item 13, the ordinance amending Article 5, Division 5, Section 2-196 of the Hartford Municipal Code up for action.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Councilman Gale, you have the floor.
I make a motion to amend item 13, Madam President, and the amendment is rather extensive. I'm not going to be able to read the amendment into the record. I do believe that the town clerk has been given a copy of the amendment. It's been titled Final Draft CPRB Ordinance. It has a number of changes to what was originally proposed before this body, and so as part of making my amendment, I would also add to my motion that in making the amendment, I ask that the revised amended ordinance be sent to the Quality of Life and Public Safety Committee for further discussion by council.
Second.
Councilman Mixtum.
Thank you, Madam President. Just as a point of clarification through you to Councilman Gill, that amendment is the document that we all received this afternoon. Am I understanding right?
That is correct. My amendment is to put forward the document that I believe was sent around to all council members today. It was called Final Draft CPRB Ordinance.
Councilman Mixtum.
Thank you. Just a further question then, and I guess this is to anyone, but I imagine to you, Madam President, who wrote that document? Because that document includes some of the mayor's original proposals and some other proposals from myself and Councilwoman Bermudez, and I think some proposals from Councilman Gale, maybe from Councilman LeBron, I'm not sure, but who wrote that? Who made the choices that made that document be what it is?
Well, that document was a total of the input of what the Hartford Party, the Working Party, and the Dems discussed. Yes.
But there are things in there that the Working Families Party proposed that are not there. So who decided which of our proposals to keep and which to toss? Whose decision was that?
It was discussed in caucus through the Dems. We went through every single change and we came up with those changes.
So this is the Dems picked the amendment.
Not the Dems. This is the majority of
I would think.
the votes that.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just heard
Not
someone
only
talking
the
on the
Dems.
phone.
This was the majority. The majority decided on the changes that were done on this document, on this ordinance. So there were things that you guys put, that the Working Party put in, that the Hartford Party agreed, that the Dems also wanted, and that there were other items that the majority felt that we weren't in agreement. And that is how that document was put together.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, it will go, like we said, to public safety. It will go to a public hearing, and we will go through the process. Yes.
Oh, I defer to Councilman Sanchez. I've been talking a lot.
I also like to include that we also took in the emails that we received from other groups as well.
As you know, I put out there well, we all did, a shared document on SharePoint. I know it was a long document, and we took a look at what the Hartford Party sent over and what the Working Party. So as the public is viewing, we did go through all the documents, including the Working Party. As you know, you guys were the first ones who submitted all the changes. We also took in consideration community leaders, community organizations that wrote to us. As you all know, this has been a very thorough document that we have really taken into consideration all public input. Councilman Mixton.
Thank you. I guess I would like to ask all of my colleagues who were involved in that process, because I wasn't, who among you is against including members who are between 18 and 26 so that the youth have a voice on this panel? And tell me why.
Want me to call the question?
I think that's a conversation we could have in committee.
With respect, I don't think it is, because if we're sending it out without that stuff, then that stuff is lost. That's what Corp Counsel told us.
No,
if we don't do it now, we
through you, Council President.
Yes,
through you, Council President.
That is an incorrect statement from you, Councilman Mixton.
Okay.
Sanchez?
No, it's
yes. I just want to say that the language that's in there, part of the language, was not specific to your age group, 18-26. But there is language there that does cover all ages. And that's what was used to replace that.
Why?
As I say, it includes it covers the whole spectrum because we don't want to exclude the senior as well. So I think it's just fair to just include all ages.
Councilman Gale?
I call the question, Madam Chair.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made to call the question. It's been properly second. And Mr. Clerk, please call the roll. You're on mute, Mr. Clerk. I will unmute you. Go ahead, please.
Councilwoman Bermudez.
absolutely not.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mishton.
No.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion to call the questions passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Now going back to our first motion, which was for this item to be on action, and correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney Lombardi, we have two motions on the floor to put the item on action, and then Councilman Gale's amendment.
Right. So right now before the council is Councilman Gale's motion to amend pursuant to the document that he sent out earlier this afternoon.
So for clarification process, for the public who's viewing us, we are going to vote on that motion, and then we will go back and vote on the actual ordinance, which was the first motion.
Just to clarify, Council President, so again, if the amendment is accepted, you don't go back and vote on the original ordinance. Okay. That the amendment is what's going to get sent out. It's going to be republished. It's going to go to public hearing. It sounds like per Councilman Gale's motion, it's also going to go to Public Safety Committee. And so there will be no vote on the original motion, which was to accept the original proposal.
Correct. So after this,
and then just because I didn't say it earlier and it seemed to create some confusion, after the public hearing process and after the committee process, it will come before council to vote as to whether to accept the amendment or not. So it will come before this body again if that amendment will, if Councilman Gale's amendment will become the new ordinance. If there's any questions on that, let me know. But yes, it comes before this body again to vote on.
Okay, so right now we're going to call a vote on Councilman's amendment. and which will take care of the motion that's already out there on the floor to send it back to public safety. And that will conclude everything that has to do with item 13 this evening.
Correct.
Thank you. So, Mr. Clerk, after Councilwoman Surgeon, did you have a question?
Ask Councilman Gale, did he file, or when will he be filing the substantial changes from his amendment with the town clerk?
Councilman Gale?
I believe they've been filed with the town clerk, Madam President, and Councilman Surgeon.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez.
No.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell.
No.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And I believe that concludes our business tonight. I want to thank everyone for joining us. And remember, if you haven't voted, please register to vote. If you haven't registered for the census, do so. Thank you. And I'm calling this meeting adjourned. Good night, everyone.